The library had grown colder as the night deepened. Bastien sat at the desk, the manuscript before him, but his attention was elsewhere. The lessons Iria had imparted, the observations, the minute details, the patterns hidden in shadows, circulated endlessly in his mind. Every flicker of candlelight now seemed a potential signal, every creak of the floorboard a possible warning. Iria watched him silently, standing near the doorway, her arms crossed. There was a measured patience in her stance, a quiet observation that felt almost predatory. She had been here before, through nights like this, guiding others through the subtle art of vigilance, but she understood that each mind adapted differently. Bastien's intellect was sharp, yes, but untrained in the shadowed game he was now part of. "You're thinking too broadly," she said, her voice soft yet firm. "Patterns are not always obvious at first glance. Sometimes they emerge only after you connect the dots over time." Bastien frowned, leaning back in his chair. "I see the details, the scratches, the shadows, but I don't yet see the bigger picture. The strategy, the intention behind the intrusion, it's elusive." Iria's eyes darkened slightly, a flash of something unspoken crossing her face. "Let me tell you a story," she said, her voice lowering, drawing him closer without moving an inch. "A story about why vigilance must be second nature, and why those who underestimate the shadows always pay the price." She began pacing slowly, each step measured. "Years ago, I worked with a man who believed brilliance was a shield. He had talent, acclaim, recognition, but he trusted too easily, assumed loyalty where there was none. One night, his most prized possession was taken, not stolen openly, not with force, but quietly, subtly, by someone he considered an ally." Bastien leaned forward, captivated despite himself. "What happened?" he asked. Iria's eyes flickered to the manuscript on the desk, a hint of regret crossing her features. Everything changed. His work was exposed, manipulated, and used against him. The loss destroyed his career, his reputation, and his trust in others. He never recovered. The words hit Bastien with the weight of inevitability. The threat was no longer abstract. It was tangible, personal, and immediate. The intruder tonight was just the beginning. If he failed to adapt, to anticipate, the consequences would be irreversible. "You must understand," Iria continued, her voice cutting through the quiet, "that those who covet what is yours are patient. They wait for hesitation, for a lapse in attention, for the moment you believe yourself safe. And when that moment comes, they strike." She moved closer, leaning slightly so her presence was a constant, pressing force. "Tonight, you survived because I intervened, but survival alone is not enough. You must learn to act before intervention is necessary. You must see the invisible hand before it touches you." Bastien swallowed hard. "I don't know if I'm ready," he admitted. "The manuscript, the intruder, it's more than I ever imagined, and I'm just one man." Iria's gaze softened, just enough to convey subtle reassurance. One man can do more than many when he understands the rules of the game, but rules alone do not protect you. Instinct, awareness, and timing, these are the weapons you must wield, and tonight you begin to forge them. The candlelight flickered again, shadows stretching across walls, curling around shelves like living things. Bastien's mind raced, trying to absorb her words, trying to anticipate what he could not yet see. The weight of responsibility pressed down, heavy and unrelenting. Then, a faint noise, a shuffle, a whisper, the softest scraping of a shoe made them both freeze. Iria's eyes narrowed, scanning the room. "They're testing you," she whispered. "Not just the manuscript, but you. Someone is observing, probing for weakness. Do you feel it?" Bastien nodded slowly. I think so." "Good," she said. Awareness is the first defense, anticipation is the second, and action is the only guarantee. She moved to the far end of the room, gesturing toward a set of shelves partially hidden in shadow. Walk to that corner, slowly, carefully. Notice everything, every detail, every imperfection. Someone or something is leaving traces, and it is your job to find them before they find you. Bastien's heart pounded as he took careful steps, eyes darting across the shelves. He noticed a faint fingerprint on the edge of a leather-bound volume, the slightest indentation in the carpet where a foot had pressed too hard, a whisper of dust displaced from a shelf above. Each detail, each clue became a piece of a larger puzzle he could not yet fully comprehend. Iria observed silently, her gaze unwavering, noting his reactions, his focus, the subtle adjustments in his posture, his breathing. He was learning, slowly, painstakingly, but the lessons were sinking in. The intruder tonight had been clever, but Bastien's vigilance, guided by her expertise, was beginning to form a shield no ordinary thief could breach. Finally, Bastien reached the corner. He exhaled, a mixture of relief and exhaustion flooding him. "I see it," he whispered, almost to himself. "I see the patterns, the traces. I think I understand." Iria stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. "You are beginning, but remember, tonight is only the foundation. There will be more tests, more intrusions, more shadows. And each time, you must grow sharper, faster, more aware. Complacency is the enemy." Bastien nodded, gripping the manuscript tighter. The weight of the lessons settled over him, heavy yet invigorating. He understood now that the intruder tonight had been a catalyst, a warning, a challenge. The world around him was no longer as safe, as predictable, or as straightforward as he had believed. And Iria, silent, calculating, merciless in her discipline, was both his guide and his enigma. One misstep, one moment of hesitation could unravel everything. The candlelight flickered again, shadows dancing across shelves, manuscripts, and the polished wooden floor. Outside, the city slept, oblivious to the quiet war unfolding within the library's walls. Inside, Bastien's eyes lingered on the manuscript, but his thoughts were no longer on the words themselves. They were on patterns, motives, and shadows. Tonight had revealed the past. Tonight had tested the present. And tomorrow would demand the future.